show because we only get to visit with Dr. Lawrence for twice a month.
Right.
About once every 2 weeks or so. So I've got a lot of questions that our listeners sent in. You have some information you'd like to talk to, and I just have some things that I want to remind our listeners about what Spirit of Health is. So just give me that brief elevator pitch of what, just to remind people if these are new listeners or they're unfamiliar with Spirit of Health.
Yeah, just think about us as a holistic wellness center, right? Everything you would want for natural health. So you can do consultations. If you have chronic illness or a diagnosis, haven't gotten answers for your condition, don't have a path to heal your body from whatever your chronic illness is, we do the lab testing. We find the actual root cause of why you have the condition you have, and we help people get well. We have thousands of testimonials proving that. We have a retail store with vitamins, minerals, herbs, a very well-educated staff. We have therapies such as ion detox foot bath, saunas, lymphatic machines, massages. And then we also have a full Pilates studio and a dance studio for kids. And we have a lot of fitness classes and things like that we offer as well. So again, just a full wellness center.
So you can get any of those services if you come up there. And on your retail shop, it's really wonderful because the herbs that you use are wildcrafted.
Organic or wildcrafted. Right.
And it's amazing to find. I didn't know anything about, till I met you, I didn't know anything about wildcrafted.
Yeah.
It just means that it grows in its natural environment, so it's a lot stronger than what you would do if you got an herb somewhere else.
Exactly.
On that, we're going to be right back, and we will be joined and answer your questions that you submitted for Dr. Lawrence and Spirit of Health right after this. Welcome back to This is Kansas City, and we are joined in studio with Spirit of Health and Dr. Vaughn Lawrence. They're located at 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri, right off of Highway 49, am I correct?
Yep.
Right off of Highway 49, right on Main Street in downtown Grandview. You can call them at 816-492-5648 or just go to spiritofhealthkc.com. You can browse all the products that they have there from their retail store and go over all their education that they have. Literally, how many videos do you have?
We have over 800 videos on YouTube. We have hundreds of blogs. All that information's free.
And you can just access that all from the website.
Yep, podcasts, all free.
Now, if you're looking for any kind of consulting or testing after you heard our brief introduction and you feel like you might need to be tested for something like Lyme disease or mold toxicity or any of that, you can have a 15-minute, no-cost, free
discovery call
that the doctors there and the people there are very well educated, and they can walk you through the process.
Exactly.
Okay. And then also the Eden Studio.
Yeah, that's our Pilates studio.
And do they sign up for that if they want to be involved in that?
You can actually, if you go to the Eden Studio website, they have their own website. They actually have a free week. So you can go and experience all the classes there for free for your first week and try it out. Bar method classes, strength and conditioning classes, different levels of skills related to Pilates classes. There's classes for pregnancy, pre and postnatal. There's kids dance classes. It's called Engage Kids. It's really taken off.
Can you just briefly, I don't want to take up too much time, but can you briefly just tell me what Pilates is if people don't know that are listening? It's a method of working out, like a yoga kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a restorative movement type of workout, so it's not like a strength and fitness necessarily kind of thing, but teaching people how to move, especially when they have mobility issues, learning how to use their pelvic floor and their core and strengthen their body and heal from really debilitating movement problems and things like that. So it's really great for all ages, especially when people are having mobility issues. My wife's a PT. She's a physical therapist. therapist, so she combines her PT skills with the Pilates.
And that Pilates can also help with balance. So if you have something like neuropathy or experiencing balance issues, it can really help with that.
For sure.
Okay, now let's get to some of our questions. So over the past couple weeks since you've been on, especially this last week, we've had a number of questions submitted, and I want to start with this one, and just do your best to answer it. And if
Sure.
you don't, if you, whatever. But this was the first question submitted by Beth. With so many conflicting reports and studies, how does someone know which one to believe? She cited the report that came out this week on the dangers of supplements like turmeric, and it was turmeric and it was green tea extract that can cause liver damage, or even the COVID vaccine. Now they don't give it. We're required to take it. You better take this or you're not going to be in the military. Right. Now, you don't. Let's not have them take it. Mm-hmm. With so many of these conflicting reports, what is somebody out there watching TV, listening, what are they supposed to believe? Well, that was the question.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good question. I mean, we're at a place in this world right now where people have been, watching the news, listening to the news, reading the newspaper, trusting, quote unquote, right, professional qualified sources to get their information. And I think we're quickly realizing, I mean, it's taken some time, so maybe I shouldn't quickly, but now we are definitely realizing that a lot of these informational sources have never had the best interest of the people in mind. People are influenced by governments, people are influenced by big corporations, people are influenced even by overseas governments like, China and things like that, where this information has a goal, right? And there's a lot of propaganda in there and a lot of disinformation. And what's the irony? Like everything with natural health and all the COVID stuff and, all the people talking about the COVID vaccines bad was all quote unquote disinformation, right?
Right.
So the people, and this goes back to the art of war. If you've ever heard of that book written way in the past, that you actually use words in media as warfare. And so whatever the people are guilty of
Sun
that
Tzu.
they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever they're guilty of, that's what they use as their line, right? Like they're spreading disinformation about COVID, about autism, about cancer, like we could go on and on and on. And so anybody who says anything against or negative to their propaganda, they're called the conspiracy theorists. They're called disinformation, right? Because that's exactly what they're doing. It's the mind game that has been around for centuries. And I think, praise God, I think America's finally waking up that, hey, we cannot listen to and trust mainstream media anymore, newspapers anymore. It is full of lies and deceit and disinformation that's coming to us by large corporations who honestly, let's just be real, they do not care about the human population. They care about their agenda, their profit margins, and how can we control humanity.
Is this kind of surrounded by the influence of Big Pharma with lots of payout? I don't know what goes on there, but, there's a lot of giant companies right now, pharmaceutical companies like Moderna, right? They just got cut, $700 million from their budget to try to find a vaccine for bird flu.
Well, let me give you a couple of examples, because these corporations out there, obviously their goal is to make money, right?
Totally.
And then you have these pharmaceutical drugs on the market, for example, that are damaging to people. They actually kill people. There's the statistics out there. I don't know what the statistic is now, but the third leading cause of death is properly prescribed medications. That's behind cancer and heart disease. So if doctors are able to prescribe pharmaceutical drugs that knowingly hurt and kill people, why are we talking about one person who supposedly, quote unquote, because we don't even know, got liver damage from turmeric? I mean, how ridiculous is this,
I watched
right?
the study, okay? So I watched it. Now, I do have some liver damage myself because my doctor, who's no longer a doctor, I don't know that for sure, he no longer works at the facility, overprescribed statins to me, and that did scar my liver.
Right.
Now, you can never get rid of that. But the guy in the study, he's perfectly fine now.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
So what was it, elevated levels of your AST?
And how do you even prove that it was the turmeric? I mean, how ridiculous. How many tens of thousands of people are taking turmeric, in supplements all over the world?
Of thousands.
Oh, probably millions.
Millions.
And you're going to say, oh, one person had. And then here's the craziness. Somebody out there actually believes that.
Yeah, they brought a doctor on.
That's what's scary.
Yes, it is. They brought a doctor on, and she said, these are fine to take in food, but if you concentrate them and put them into your body, they are going to damage your organs. What?
So let's talk about
green tea extract?
Let's talk about the ultimate irony. Okay, this is something I always love to bring to people's attention. Have you seen the drug commercials for, diabetes or whatever the med is, and people are laughing and playing and jumping and having a good time and dancing, and then they list the side effects?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That you could get, heart disease or blood clotting or cancer or kidney disease or liver failure.
Cases, death.
Or even death. So here's the
Stigmata.
point. Here's the point I have to make on that in the culture and the world we live on. Number one, every side effect that they list means that actually happened to a human being.
In a test trial.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah, every single one.
We're doing trials where these drugs are doing all these things listed, and we're legally allowed to sell that to other human beings.
In the study, they have to sign off on it, right? So they can't sue.
Exactly. There's indemnification against them having any liability whatsoever. Now, if somebody took a natural supplement and, God forbid, they happen to die from taking that supplement, it'd be all over the news. They would recall the product. They would shut down the business. Like, this shows the hypocrisy of the world we're living in today.
How many cases have you heard of people dying from taking too much vitamin C?
Zero. Or any herb. Zero. Yet you can legally prescribe and kill people every single day with these man-made pharmaceutical drugs, and we think it's okay.
That brings us to the next question. This question was submitted just 2 days ago. With so many things changing over time, kind of leads into what we were talking about, probably close to the same answer. But it says, with so many changes over time, like diets, you remember the diets in the 70s?
Right.
Just to do a cleanse diet for a month, do this for a month, or you can only eat hamburger. Plain.
Carnivores.
Right.
Macrobiotic. There's 100 diets out there. Right.
Over time. And then they say, oh, this one's great. And then 10 years later, they go, oh, it's not. So the question reads, it's good, and then about 10 years later, it's bad.
Right.
When do I know when to get started on anything if it's always changing?
Right. Yeah. Eggs are good. Eggs are bad. Dairy's good. Dairy's
Same
bad.
thing.
Wheat is good. Wheat is bad.
Eggs cause cholesterol.
Right?
No, eggs don't cause cholesterol.
No, never have.
Never have.
No.
So, when do they get started on what when they know what I want to do something, but I guess that was the question. I want to do something beneficial for my body and for my health, but now this is bad. So where do I know?
Yeah, the challenge is again, I think the world we're living in today, if you're really struggling with a real health issue, you probably should seek professional help. Naturally minded professional help, because, I work with thousands of people and I don't have everybody on the same quote unquote diet, right? The problem is people have to know what's going on inside of them, inside of their body. Because if you have digestive issues, if you have food sensitivities and allergies, if you have an autoimmune condition, if you're having histamine responses, like, it's going to matter what you do and don't eat. So, it's a great question, but my question is, well, is that for somebody who's ill? Is that for just the average everyday person that's out there? Is that for a child? Is that for an adult? There's so many factors, right? So I think somebody should seek a professional if they're having health issues, but for the general public, I'll just keep it as simple as we possibly can. It's what we ate on, if you watch Little House on the Prairie, right? When people used to live off the land, they ate fruit that grew off the trees, vegetables that they grow in their garden, animal products, whether that's product from an animal or eating, the milk, cow, the chicken, whatever. And then, quality whole grains like oatmeal and rice and beans and lentils, what I would call a whole food diet. So what does average Joe eat today? We should eat a whole foods diet. The problem is we're not eating a whole food diet because we live in a processed world. And it's hard to find those foods. We're not living on farms. We're not getting foods directly from the farmer or the farmer's market. Everything's been taken over by corporate America, who, again, does not care about humans, right? We're just now taking dyes and artificial flavors and colorings out of foods because they're forced to. Thankfully now, by the MAHA movement, where the companies don't change unless they have to. And let me give one example, because I was talking about pharmaceutical drugs. Do you remember the drug that was an NSAID called Vioxx?
Yes.
Okay. Vioxx, proof, legally, court cases, killed over 100,000 people, proven in court. Over 100,000 people had to die before they took it off the market.
Was that back in that was way back,
80s,
right? The 80s,
probably.
It was 80s.
Yeah. So when one person died from taking Vioxx, or let's just say when it was 10 people, now it's super obvious that it's killing people, did they take it off the market? No, I'll tell you when companies take things off the market. When the amount they're paying out in legal fees and lawsuits supersedes the amount of profit they're making, that's when a drug comes off the market. That's the world we live in. But again, we want to say turmeric somehow causes liver damage. I mean, it's insane.
Okay. I guess the answer to both of those questions would be
do your own research.
Do your own research. Every human being is different.
Yes.
Nobody, it's not a cookie cutter process.
No.
We are not all ginger people that have been stamped out with the same. Every single body is different.
Right.
And that depends on how you've lived your life. It depends on what you've eaten. It depends on your belief system. It depends on everything environmentally around you.
But actually, here's what's awesome is we're all different, but we all need the same things. We all need clean water and hydration.
Clean air.
We all need vitamins and minerals. We all need oxygen. We all need the nutrients contained in fruits and vegetables. So, there are some basic things that every human needs, but I feel like we've just kind of forgotten those basics.
I feel like that too, and I feel like when they talk about air quality, and they talk about all the things they have to do in the U.S. for air quality control and environmental control and all of that. What really gets to me is no other industrial country, you look at China or India or any of those countries, they're not doing any of that. I mean, China has more coal mines than we have. Right. I mean, they're just strip mining like crazy. Do they know we live in a bubble on a ball? The air will get to us no matter what.
Yeah.
If you walk outside today and you smell the haze or the smoke and the haze that's in that comes from Canada. We live in a global world.
Right.
I understand making the first move if it makes sense, but next question. I was told from my doctor not to eat grapefruit while I was on my medication, but he never told me why. Now I wonder, why? Is there a reason for that? I thought that was an intriguing question because my doctor told me the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, grapefruit, I mean, it can interact with certain medications.
Again, pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, pharmaceutical drugs. It's always on the side of being safe or sorry. Not that, there's lots of documented evidence this has actually hurt somebody,
Probably
right?
that one case.
Yeah, probably that one case. But what I always say in general is like, if you're taking natural supplements, for example, take them 2 hours before or after your medications just to avoid any interactions
Which
or anything
I do.
like that. But for the most part, those things are, again, it's the old CYA. Right? We know what that means. Like we're going to always, cover our butts and just, we live in this legal world where we have to say all these crazy things to avoid any potential lawsuits, but there's very little evidence to these things actually being valid.
I went to the doctor, and just to share a little story, but it's kind of funny. Because I went to the doctor, they did the profile, the lipid profile on me, and the doctor said, well, I'm testing for some other things. Then he said, well, you are deficient in B12, and I'm going to need you to take a supplement of B12 for 1,000 mcgs. The doctor's prescribing a supplement.
Right.
So, what? Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, and then, like with the whole grapefruit thing, it actually just shows the power of natural foods because grapefruit contains enzymes, and these enzymes can make the statin drug actually work better because it helps it absorb better. And then so all of a sudden now you're getting more medication than you need because the natural enzyme is the fruit is actually doing what God designed it to do. So to me, what makes more sense is to not take the statin, eat the food because that's what we really need is the food, not the
that
drug.
Makes total sense if you think about it, because what's happening is the grapefruit is trying to do its work.
Exactly.
And something foreign has entered your body.
Exactly. Which God never designed any pharmaceutical drugs to be in the body. And here's the statement I like to make. There's nobody on this planet that's deficient in a pharmaceutical drug. That's not your problem. I'm not aspirin deficient or statin drug deficient. Nobody is, but we are vitamin and mineral and oxygen and water deficient. So let's address the real issues, the real deficiencies.
And that's what Spirit of Health does, is they track down the root cause and not just the Band-Aid effect that a lot of different places that you might go would try to do. Well, here's a remedy until you feel better. And then you end up taking that the rest of your life.
Right.
And that's what is getting people, I think, hooked into the pharmaceuticals.
Managing their condition.
Do you think stress, another question, do you think stress is a big part of overall, reducing stress is a big part of overall wellness?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. I mean, we definitely live in a stressed out world. I'm absolutely guilty of stress, in my business and our family, and it's really hard. It's the culture, it's the lifestyle. So I guess the question is, well, we have stress. How well are our bodies adapted to able to handle stress? This is where magnesium can come in. This is where getting, enough sleep, quality sleep every night can come in. This is where making sure you're spending time with your family, in nature, with your kids, that you actually take the time to go to the mountains or the ocean or the forest and spend some time in nature and go on vacation. Like, I don't think in our world we can fully avoid stress, but we can mitigate it by taking certain supplements, by living a good lifestyle, by taking time away from work is what we try to do to manage that.
I was there was a small island in the Caribbean, and there's also documented cases in other islands, around some Polynesian islands and things, but there's no stress there.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there
nice.
is no stress. You're eating whole foods. You are drinking spring water from the rainforest. I mean, it is, it's like, and there is no stress, and it has the oldest people in the world.
Oh, I believe it.
I mean, we're talking 114 and still walking to the market.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like we've we've created. And again, I'm not going to say I'm not guilty. I'm guilty. We're
So
guilty.
am I.
The culture is guilty. And I don't know how to just flip the switch. And, you know, I've always joked about this. Like, I'm the guy that could be barefoot in the middle of the woods, living in a cabin, and be perfectly happy. And like my lifestyle is the opposite of that. And that's sad. But I feel like, and if you think about it, God designed us to live in a garden with him. And that's why there's such this struggle in our hearts. They're like, this is actually God's original design, is just to live in a garden and commune with God. And we've just strayed so far from that.
On that, we will take a quick, brief message, and we'll be right back with Spirit of Health and Dr. Vaughn Lawrence. Or natural remedies?
No, my father was not. He just was retiring, and he decided he would help me start a business.
Oh, I see. So this wasn't a passion. Where did you develop the passion for this?
Really, it was just, you know, wanting to change careers. And
you were just sick and tired of all of the medical stuff going on?
Sick and tired of my life, and gave my life to the Lord, and got really fascinated about herbs and natural things. Went to work at a health food store in Las Vegas, fell in love with it, went back to school to get my doctorate in naturopathy, and just went from there. It was a total career shift, life change in my early 30s. And
wow.
I'm 51 now. So,
wow, that's something else, isn't
about
it?
18 years ago when
Hey,
this
it's
all
good
started.
that you did.
Yeah, amen. I'm very thankful.
All right, now, you also, at Spirit of Health, you hold classes, right?
Yes.
Tell me what you're working on now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have free classes, and just to make it easy for anybody who's listening, if you just go to our website, which you've mentioned, spiritofhealthkc.com, there's a tab that says events. If you go to events, you will see we have our big 10-year celebration coming up in October, that we have classes every month that are free. We also have what are called master classes that are free, and it's all on that event page, and you can sign up, and like I said, it's free. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
All these events are I'm sorry to interrupt, but all these classes are on a different subject?
Yes, they're all different topics, different subjects.
And it'll tell you on the website
exactly
if we're talking about this.
Yes, I'm doing actually my next series coming up, and you can do it in person or virtual, but it's how to properly get off pharmaceutical drugs. I'm actually going to teach people how to get off of blood pressure meds, how to get off of statin drugs, how to get off of diabetes meds. So, you know, it's no wonder the medical system doesn't like me, right? Like I'm trying to set people free while the medical system is trying to hold people in prison to their medications and their health. And so I'm doing a whole series on getting people off of pharmaceutical drugs. I'm doing a whole series on blood work, how to read blood work, and how it's so vastly different than how the medical system looks at blood work. But the masterclass we're starting next Wednesday is on how to reverse chronic illness in our children. We have an epidemic of chronic illness in our children. I don't know if you've heard the most recent statistic, but they now say 1 in 31 children has autism.
I heard that.
That's an atrocity, okay? And there's a reason for it. And the reason you don't hear what the reason is, or, oh, there's no proof, or we don't know the cause, you know, of autism. And the reason you don't hear about it is the cause of autism primarily is our medical system. Okay, now, could we also blame like processed foods and the chemical industry and other things? Yes, as well. But I firmly believe that the reason we have an epidemic of chronic illness in our children is caused by our own medical system.
Interesting.
Yeah. So think about it this way. If we have autoimmune disease rising, cancer rising, diabetes rising, they're going to say 1 in 2 people are going to be diabetic in the next few years. I mean, this is outrageous, right? So there's only 2 ways to look at this if you're talking about our medical system. One is our medical system is an epic failure on how to treat and get people well. Right? Because if our medical system was working, it's been around. Our medical system isn't new. It's been around for 50, 60, 80 years, right?
It's gone all the way back when barbers committed or did surgery.
Yeah, so if our medical system helped people and was working, why are we getting more and more and more chronic illness? That's one.
Why are we getting sicker?
Exactly. And then number two is it possible that our medical system is actually contributing? Because it's the old, hey, let's create the problem and then we'll provide the solution. And while creating the problem and providing the solution, they're making billions of dollars along the way. And sadly, I believe that's what's happened in our country.
Kind of like government.
Yeah.
I mean, take something very, very simple and complicate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Yeah, our medical system is very complicated, but also very, very inept at actually helping people get well, especially chronic illness. And that's why we're doing this master class for children, because I know there's a lot of parents out there whose children are having health issues. And we're going to talk about, autism, pandas, those things. But we're also going to talk about, I've seen a lot of eczema and psoriasis, a lot of chronic skin issues in children, ADD, ADHD. I mean, we're going to cover...
yes, I've heard a lot of children have that. And what do? They put them on Ritalin.
They put them on Ritalin. They put them on pharmaceutical drugs. And again, these children are not pharmaceutical drug deficient. I can't say it enough. We're not deficient in a drug. There is an imbalance and a problem in the system. We're deficient in certain nutrients, and our bodies are toxic. Why is there an epidemic rise of children's chronic illness? Because we're toxic. And why are the children toxic? Trust me, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Well, I mean, you can say the parents have some responsibility.
It could be the environment.
But exactly, it's the environment. It's our medical system. It's the fast food industry. It's big pharma. We have catered to the interest of corporations, and we valued profit over people.
It goes back to the old premise of Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably the right one.
Right.
If all I'm eating every day is pick something, I don't care, crackers, and every day I get sicker and sicker and sicker.
Right.
The problem is probably the crackers.
Right.
Because I'm not eating anything else.
It's what is that? The definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result?
The fly on the screen.
Yeah, like we're still believing that the medical system's looking for a cure for cancer, right? And they still want us to donate money to the Susan Kaufman Foundation so that they can find a cure for cancer, all right? Have we not woken up yet and realized that that is a scam that's 50 plus years in the making?
It's amazing they haven't found anything.
No, and they are not going to. Again, it's the lie, it's the deception. Why? Because the answer is found in God. The answer is found in creation.
There's also got to be a reason then why we see such an uptick in cancer.
Right.
There's got to be a reason why, and whether it's the food, the environment, the chemicals that are in all of our cleaning products. What did you say was proven to cause cancer? The
glyphosate?
No, they'd spray on plants to kill the weeds.
Oh, herbicides, pesticides.
Yeah,
that's glyphosate, 2,4-D.
Yeah, they found them.
Yeah, atrazine.
And they know they cause cancer.
Absolutely.
And what did they do to the company that issued all that?
Nothing.
They got away with it.
And the reason you know that it does cause cancer is these people are filing lawsuits. They're going to court. Federal judges are looking at the information. They're awarding millions of dollars to people, which is actually an admission of guilt, right? So they're admitting that this causes cancer, yet again, we're still, our world's so insane that we're still allowed to sell and use these products.
And do you see that changing? Is there any path for any kind of, do you see any of that changing now that they've made the decision on do not vaccinate your children for COVID?
Right, or anything.
Because they just want, all they're trying to do is, the reason that I have such a problem with the COVID is because there wasn't any human trial.
No, it was fast-tracked. There was no proper research done, and then people still lined up to take it.
They have no idea what could have happened.
That goes back to here we trusting these people who have profits. That profit is their interest, not people, and we trust them.
Now, if you go all the way back to penicillin, I think that did some good. I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
Well, we're still injecting a mold in people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I know people who are allergic to penicillin because they're mold toxic.
Is that what it is?
Yes. Oh. Why do we have peanut allergies and egg allergies today when 50 years ago not a single child had a peanut or an egg allergy?
Why is that?
They're in the vaccines.
Oh.
Peanut oil and eggs and artificial dyes and glyphosate
they
and
just
ammonia
made that illegal, right?
and aborted human fetal tissue and tissues of other animals. Like God said in the Bible that we are not to mix species, not to mix genetics. Yet we're putting animal parts and human parts and toxic chemicals in our children with vaccines and calling it medicine. God never, ever, ever intended for this to be medicine.
Okay. Well, wow. So
sorry.
Okay, but all right. So I understand that, and I see the upticks and everything, and a lot of people, the people that would, that I would discuss this with, are saying, well, that's just because the population is so much bigger than it was 50 years ago. There's so many more people. Obviously, there's going to be more cases. That's what their response was to me in a discussion. I mean, well, sure, 50 years ago, there was half the amount of people that there are now. So you're obviously going to see more cases.
Well, how come we didn't see hardly any at all? Period.
Right.
Like autism wasn't even a thing. Cancer was a thing, but it was very, very, very rare.
Extremely rare.
If you had a child in a classroom that had a severe mental or a behavioral disorder, it was oh my gosh, that one kid in the school, right? That one kid in the whole school has these special issues. Now it seems like every other child. So there's a severe, massive problem. And again, I will just say that we have to look to other solutions and stop trusting everything that the media tells us, that the newspaper tells us, and I'm sorry to say it, that the doctor tells you. We have to question everything. We have to fight and advocate for our children's health.
As your own person.
You have to be your own person. You have to be your own doctor. You have to be self-educated. That's why I love moms out there who are fighting for the truth, fighting for their children, and looking deeper. And you know what? Doctors hate it because doctors have a lot of pride and they don't like to be questioned, and they don't like these moms who quote unquote know nothing telling them all these things about vaccines. And the reality is mama bears have to rise up and fight for our families and our children. And they are.
And on that, we'll be right back after this quick message, and we'll close out the show with Spirit of Health and Dr. Vaughn Lawrence. Welcome back to This is Kansas City. We're joined in studio with Dr. Vaughn Lawrence from Spirit of Health. They're located at 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri. Call them at 816-492-5648 or go to spiritofhealthkc.com for more information. And anything we've discussed on the show today, you can find right there on the website. When we left off, we were talking a little bit about kind of do your own research, find out for yourself,
right.
Discover this. Don't take it, question everything.
Yes.
Don't take anybody's word for one thing. When you get back home or whatever, take that advice and then research it. And how did you go about finding different sources that could help you make up your mind in the path that you wanted to take?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I actually started with going back to school. So, right, there's programs out there for naturopathy and herbalism. And of course, I always tell people, if you want to read a good book, medical book, read any medical book written before 1900. because all those books were not influenced by Big Pharma. They talked about herbs and homeopathy and chiropractic and sunshine and water and all the things that we should be using. So, finding a good online program is an example. Our website's full of hundreds of blogs, hundreds of videos on YouTube. You can go to our website or our YouTube channel and just type in acid reflux, type in arthritis, type in whatever word you want. You're going to find an article or a video on it.
Wait, say that again now. I just want to be clear on that. So if I go to your website, that's how I find your YouTube channel?
No, the website would be blogs.
Okay, the website is
Yep,
blogs,
and you
have all your blogs listed on spiritofhealthkc.com.
You can search it, or you can go to the Education Center and look at it by category.
Okay.
Yep, and then, of course, we have a YouTube channel, which is Spirit of Health KC, and you can just search and find stuff on YouTube. I also looked at other trusted sources. Okay, now, are any source perfect? No. But Dr. Axe, Dr. Jockers, Dr. Mercola. I mean, these are guys that have been around for decades, doing their best to give quality information on natural health. One of my favorite ones is Green Med Info, Dr. Sayer G. He is an absolute fighter and a warrior who's come under a lot of attack.
Green what was that?
Green Med Info. He's actually under attack and a lot of scrutiny right now because he's so outspoken against COVID. And, he's speaking the truth. So anybody out there speaking the truth is going to be persecuted.
And anyway, if you don't feel like that's the truth, or if you do, again, question everything.
You can
Go
make
to
up your
both
own mind.
sources.
Yeah.
Go to both sources, find out for yourself. That's going to make you, listeners, feel more comfortable with the decision that you make. You just don't take anyone's word for one thing.
Let's bring it back to the beginning. Turmeric. Do your own research on turmeric. Go to PubMed. That is where double-blind placebo studies are done by universities and doctors, and that's what even the medical system use. Look up research on turmeric. Look at the thousands of studies that have been on turmeric, the benefits for humanity, and decide if turmeric's actually good for you, or you're actually going to believe some ridiculous article about one person who supposedly was injured by turmeric. Right?
I mean,
do your own research.
Turmeric is a natural. It's curcumin.
Yeah, it's
right?
curcumin. It's a plant. Yeah, it's a root.
It's a plant. Mm-hmm. It's a root. Yes, there are some plants that are dangerous. You don't want to have a giant Venus flytrap, or
right.
you don't want to roll around in poison ivy. Those plants have a defense system.
Absolutely.
And that defense system is there to benefit their survival. Mm-hmm. Which many animals, every animal has a defense system built in.
Including humans.
Exactly.
So trust our defense system. You don't need man-made interventions to build your own immune system and to rebuild your health. You need God and nature and creation and herbs and sunshine and water. It's always been available. It still is.
We will be back on Monday with a brand new show. Dr. Vaughn Lawrence, thank you for being here. Spirit of Health KC. We'll be back next week.
Get me one.